r/Askreddit dear Reddit, what's the most sadistic thing you've done in The Sims? In the first Sims there was a depressed clown that came out of a painting to mess with your family. I didn't understand why this kept happening, and each time the clown came, he made the game unplayable. Finally I had enough and raised a family of 4 buff dudes set to maximum rudeness, calling them the Clown Killers. Each dude had an intimidating first name to like Ape or something. I figured the clown would stay away from such a terrible household, but sure enough he came and got his asterisk beat for days on end. Finally a friend came by to tell me that I just had to remove the clown painting to get rid of the clown. I enjoyed making the house from hell, not a house of death, a house that was a B asterisk to navigate and took forever to move around. So the Sims would go outside to get up and down stairs, bake dinner and have to go upstairs to wash the dishes, go down a hallway and through a pool to use the bathroom, have to go through the pool to get to the street. The Sims in Sims 3 are quite smart, so it was hilarious watching them go through the house from hell. In the previous 2 they would kill themselves and pee in the hallways. They would kill themselves and pee in the hallways, in that order. Adopted a kid, built a room in the middle of the garden, locked him in there, and put floor to ceiling windows all around, so he could look at Mother Nature while he starved and everyone could watch him too. Also on that note, I had a pool party whilst he was still in his glass box, so he could enjoy watching all the neighbors eat and drink and have fun while he was dying. Yes, this is why I posted this question. I created a cheetah's graveyard. Built a female character who lived in a small house covering all her basic needs, and next to the house there was a fenced area. The girl often hosted parties for her neighbors and invited couples over. Then she would try seduce the husbands, and if they fell for her trap they would be acquainted with painful slow death in Dollars room. Their tombstone would be later added in the graveyard. I was 12 by the time, but apparently had very specific relationship ethics. I did this too, in The Sims 3. It was fun watching them starve to death. There was a window in their cell, so I'd have my Sim eat breakfast and dinner, where they could see. Of course. I would also invite the wife over, and befriend them as he went through the fires of the hell he deserved. Oh boy, let me tell you. I have a Sim named William. William is a normal dude, writer/painter, living in a nice, custom 2-story home with his roommate. His conveniently oblivious roommate. Because in his spare time, William likes to go out and make friends. Then, he likes to invite his new friends over to his house for a home-cooked meal. This meal is set on the floor in the basement, and once all of William's new friends are in the basement, the meal and the stairs are removed, and William works on one of his novels, while 2 to 5 people starve to death in his basement over the course of several days. The basement is also full of cheap electronics, which William's friends quickly break, allowing William to level up his hand-in-a skill. Once the Reaper is finished with his work, William takes the urns over to his secondary house, a small shack with no doors or windows. The urns are placed into the basement of this home, with a painted portrait of the deceased hung above each one. Here, dozens of ghosts arise each night, hunting for food they'll never be able to find. Then he buys the deceased's property and sells off everything on it. I've cleared half of the city, and I'm not giving up anytime soon. After reading this thread, mine seems a little vanilla, but basically the moment a character turned old they were dead to me. I then made them do all the mundane upkeep chores so my youthful Sims could do cool stuff. The old Sims usually died from exhaustion or hunger. They'd piss themselves all the time, which was just one more thing they had to clean. That last sentence though. This is sorta what I did. Marry a rich alderman. When they hit the elderly level they became the help. I would then turn off my Sim's aging timer, then move new BFF/GF in the house. My GF told me the other day that she got her Sim a boyfriend, got her pregnant, and then killed him. Didn't know how to react. Sims players must really seem like fascists to people who don't play. You should see Dwarf Fortress players. You mean it's not normal to have mermaids locked up in my basement and being bred like cattle so I can harvest the bones of their children to make knickknacks I sell to people? Surprisingly, that's not where I draw the line. I created a lab under my Sim's house, filled it with observation chambers and test subjects. I ran a variety of experiments there. I killed my Sims in every way possible. I ran an experiment with this super loving couple's emotions, had them watch their partner fall in love with someone else and eventually have us asterisk with someone else in front of them. Then I killed the person they were cheating with, leaving just the original couple. I repeated the experiment with the other partner and then put the original couple together. They hated each other. I also ran a torture room to see if it had any effect on productivity with learning skills and money making. The subject was put in a chamber with a treadmill and forced to run as much as possible. A downtime of 4 hours each day was given for learning, painting and 2 hours of sleep. I discovered that if you want to be sadistic and still get good results, you have to torture them in intervals. So a day of treadmill, then a day of learning/painting. Oh, and there was the time I infiltrated a family home that I wanted. I married my way in and killed off the family one by one in an attic death chamber. Good times. How the F** does this game allow for attic death chambers and basement torture dungeons? WTF. It's a good game, brunt. I had this middle-aged sim I took outside the house and built half a pond around him and half a cliff. I left room for nothing but a fridge, made him eat until he got really fat and cried all the time because he was ashamed. I took his toilet away, so he peed himself on the rug I installed on his island. I made sure he was in full view of everyone on the street and in the house. Eventually, I took the fridge away and let him slowly die of starvation. I also took a small child outside in the backyard and caved in all the ground around him, so he was surrounded by nothing but an empty black pit. He didn't have room to do anything but stand there. He became desperate for social interaction long before the starvation set in, because nobody would talk or interact with him. Social services eventually came when he verged on dying. I tried to block their access to the house by locking the doors, but they opened them anyway and got inside the house. I removed the doors and every exit, but they walked straight through the walls. Social services then used their voodoo witch magic to teleport the child out of the hole/platform in the backyard and walked the child through the walls of the house back to the car and drove away. If only real life social services were that good. I would put 8 people to a house, make them all get in the pool, then take away the ladder to get out, and they'd all drown and leave tombstones behind. I'd repeat this several times until there were dozens of tombstones on the property, sometimes close to 100. Then I'd build a little house with a single person living there. Having that many graves made it inevitable that ghosts would rise every night and terrify my lone guy until he died from lack of sleep. Edit. This blew up. Best comment response I've ever gotten. I'm dying reading some of these. Is that even possible? I wonder what the limit is on hauntings before the game just shits the bed. I had one ghost on my property, but he glitched and wouldn't ever leave, not even for a ghostbuster. Just stayed up all night cooking poorly and eating my most expensive ingredients, which included life fruit and death fish, or whatever that really rare fish was in Sims 3. Worst roommate ever. If you have the World Adventures expansion and use the buy debug cheat, you can get a chest. There are 3, one for each country's tomb, that you can keep anything in, and your Sims should leave the chest alone unless you tell to open it. I just use that to store food items I don't want eaten. I used to work on the game. While developing the Sims 1 expansion pack Mac in Magic, we discovered that cars had always been flagged as flammable, but never caught fire, because of the natural fire break of the sidewalks. We found this out when someone's misbehaving baby dragon walked out into traffic, torched the school bus, and all the neighborhood kids stumbled off the bus in flames. I admit to testing this a few times after it was discovered, but before it was fixed. You actually worked on the game. Do you possibly consider doing an AMA? You never can be sure exactly how much you sign away in an NDA with any company of any size, never mind a big time entity like EA. Definitely don't want to poke at that too much. Besides, that was a long time ago. Now, 14 years. Back then it was still Max's, owned by EA already by the time I joined, but still in their own separate offices in Walnut Creek. Back when I had the first Sims for PC, I used to download a lot of objects off the web. There were mood boosters, computers you could learn all skills from, you name it. There was dynamite. 3 seconds after placing the dynamite on the lot and going to live mode it would explode. Have this huge fire. So I started playing a game, almost like some sick twisted reality show. I would create a family and move them into this empty house and seal them in. There would be a ton of mood booster stations and I would place dynamite everywhere, then just go to live mode and see what happens and who was a survivor. Then I'd just drown the survivor in the pool and move in a new family and start the process over. You could move the survivor to another house, then start the process again and repeat until you have enough survivors in the second house. Then blow up that house and see who survives. Then move them to another house. It never ends.